Sometimes, UFC fighters end up in fights outside the octagon that go so viral, they almost seem unreal. From Ryan Hall teaching a drunk man a quick lesson to Jorge Masvidal ambushing Colby Covington outside a Miami restaurant, these are the UFC fighters who got into real-life fights outside the cage. Ryan Hall and Drunk Guy. Ryan Hall statement. Known as a master of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, he spent years competing against world-class athletes, earning ADCC medals, and dominating the mat. But in 2011, he got into a street fight he never asked for, against a man who had no clue he was picking a fight with a professional grappler. It all happened in a bar, like most bad ideas do. Hall was out with friends when a drunk man approached and asked for a lighter. Hall simply replied that no one at the table smoked. That should have been it, but the man seemed to take it personally. Maybe he didn't like Hall's response, or maybe he was just too intoxicated to think straight.
I have gotten 302'd 4 times!
Either way, he became aggressive and started threatening Hall as if he were an ordinary guy. That was a big mistake. Hall is no regular person. He's a world-class grappler trained to control anyone within seconds. And right there, the drunk man was about to find out why picking a fight with someone like Hall was a terrible decision. Without throwing a single punch, Hall swiftly went for a single leg takedown, sending the man to the floor before he even realized what happened. From there, it was pure skill on display. Hall mounted him, controlled him effortlessly, and then calmly applied a choke until the man passed out. It was over in moments. The entire thing was filmed and spread online instantly.
Brian? Alright.
This is hilarious.
I'll tell you what, I'll step on his throat.
Watching an elite jiu-jitsu fighter control a street brawler is like seeing a chess grandmaster face someone who just learned how to move the pieces. The drunk man's only move that night? Straight to sleep. Lesson of the story. If you're planning to start a fight at a bar, make sure your opponent isn't a professional who can end it without even throwing a punch. Next up, Conor McGregor and Cody Garbrandt, two fiery tempers that nearly turned words into a full-on brawl. Conor McGregor and Cody Garbrandt. If Conor McGregor has a trademark outside of fighting people's minds, and back in 2015, during the filming of The Ultimate Fighter 22, he almost turned a heated exchange into a real fight with none other than Cody Garbrandt.
Do something then. Do something then. Do something then.
It began with McGregor's ongoing rivalry with Team Alpha Male. It first started when he clashed with Urijah Faber during the UFC 189 build-up for his fight with Chad Mendes. But things really got tense when McGregor called TJ Dillashaw a snake in the grass, suggesting Dillashaw was disloyal to his team. That insult hit hard, especially with Garbrandt, one of Team Alpha Male's most loyal members. McGregor, as always, kept provoking. Where's the little snake? Where's the little weasel? Has he got Dwayne Ludwig with him? He mocked, referring to Dillashaw's coach. Garbrandt had enough and snapped back, "That's my boy. You're not gonna sit here and talk about him." Then McGregor, in his usual fashion, pushed the situation further with, "Are you gonna do something about it?" That was all Garbrandt needed to hear. He charged straight at McGregor and shoved him hard, sparking chaos as teammates and staff rushed in to break it up. The room exploded with shouting, and the production crew had their hands full trying to censor the flood of profanity flying back and forth. Despite how heated it got, Garbrandt later admitted he didn't actually hate McGregor. It was just the heat of the moment. "I'm never gonna shy away from a fight," he said. Interestingly, after filming ended, Garbrandt admitted he even found some of McGregor's jokes funny. The twist? Dillashaw eventually did leave Team Alpha Male, which made McGregor's snake remark seem almost prophetic. In the end, the lesson here is clear. When McGregor calls you out, you either fight back or laugh it off, because he'll still win the exchange one way or another. Next, we move to Roger Huerta, a man who became known not for a UFC fight, but for what he did on the streets of Texas. Roger Huerta and Guy. Roger Huerta was once one of the UFC's brightest stars, even making the cover of Sports Illustrated and rising fast through the lightweight division. But what put him in the headlines later wasn't inside the octagon. It was a brutal street fight caught on video in Austin, Texas. It was around 2 a.m. when chaos broke out outside a bar. People were yelling, fights erupted, and then something happened that changed everything. A man suddenly turned around and hit a woman, knocking her straight to the ground. Huerta saw it and instantly stepped in. "You just punched a girl," he shouted angrily. Without hesitation, he removed his shirt, tossed his hat aside, and charged at the attacker. What happened next was complete mayhem. The crowd scattered as Huerta went after the man, and though the video struggled to keep up with the action, one thing was clear once the camera steadied. Huerta had handled the situation decisively. The man lay unconscious and bloodied on the pavement, while Huerta calmly walked away. Police arrived shortly after, but no arrests were made. The video spread fast, and opinions were split. Some praised Huerta for stepping in when no one else did, calling him a hero. Others argued he went too far, warning that street fights can turn deadly in an instant. In an interview later, Huerta explained, "If that was my mom, if that was my sister, my spouse, anyone, I would have wanted someone to step in and do something about it." His words captured the moral struggle many saw in the video, doing what feels right versus understanding the risks that come with it. And just like Roger Huerta, Jorge Masvidal also took matters into his own hands, catching Colby Covington completely off guard. Jorge Masvidal and Colby Covington. Colby Covington may call himself the UFC's villain, but his path to fame was anything but quiet. Since making his UFC debut back in 2014, relentless wrestling. By 2025, he'd earned an impressive MMA record of 17 wins, 4 losses, and 5 draws, securing a solid spot in the welterweight rankings. But his rise wasn't only about what he did inside the cage, it was also about what came out of his mouth. Covington became infamous for his bold trash talk, which made him one of the sport's most divisive figures. He even dubbed himself the King of Miami, a title that didn't sit well with Miami's own Jorge Masvidal. The tension between Masvidal and Covington grew slowly before finally reaching its breaking point. The two had once shared a strong friendship and trained side by side, but personal insults and professional jealousy soon tore them apart, turning them into bitter enemies. Everything came to a head on March 22, 2022, outside a popular steakhouse in Miami Beach. Covington was out having dinner with the Nelk Boys and had no clue that the night would take a violent turn. As he exited the restaurant, Masvidal suddenly appeared and struck him with a surprise punch, driven by anger and betrayal. So why did it happen? It wasn't just an impulsive attack. Masvidal had reached his limit after Covington made deeply personal remarks about him, calling him a deadbeat dad and criticizing his relationship with his children. These insults came just weeks after Covington had beaten Masvidal in their UFC 272 matchup, which already left Masvidal bitter. That final comment was the push that sent things over the edge. Masvidal was soon arrested, but pleaded not guilty, and a court ordered him to stay at least 25 feet away from Covington. The feud, however, didn't stop there. Both men continued to exchange heated words online, keeping their rivalry alive long after the assault. One thing is clear, the hostility between them is far from over. Next, let's move to Mike Perry and the shocking lesson he gave an elderly man. Mike Perry, an old man. Mike Perry's UFC career has always mirrored his unpredictable behavior outside the cage. Known for his raw, aggressive style, Perry became the focus of a disturbing incident on the night of July 7, 2020, at a restaurant in Lubbock, Texas. A video later surfaced showing a violent confrontation inside Table 82, a well-known local spot. Perry, who was with his girlfriend LaTorri Gonzalez, was seen yelling at an employee, claiming the man had touched him.
Did you touch me? No, sir, oh, you didn't touch me?
Things escalated as Perry headed toward the door, with bystanders trying to calm him down. But then, an elderly man wearing glasses stepped in, trying to defuse the situation. Instead of backing off, Perry snapped, "I'll knock your old ass out too," he warned. The older man responded with profanity and moved toward him, and that's when Perry lost control. Without hesitation, Perry said, "Yeah, let's go, you fat piece of expletive," before throwing a punch that sent the elderly man collapsing to the ground.
Hey, no. Hey!
The scene spiraled into chaos. Perry continued shouting, using racial insults at bystanders and claiming the man shouldn't have touched him. Restaurant staff later confirmed that the man who was hit worked there and had only asked Perry to leave to prevent things from worsening. Perry's reaction afterward didn't help his image. On Twitter, he doubled down, saying, "If you see us in public and you get too close, I'm gonna hit you." He even added that he would baptize anyone who dared to test him. This wasn't an isolated event in Perry's turbulent life. Long before his UFC career began, he had already spent time in jail for violating probation related to an armed robbery case. Now, let's move on to another surprising brawl, the unexpected elevator fight between Bruce Buffer and Frank Trigg. Bruce Buffer and Frank Trigg. Bruce Buffer, the famous voice of the UFC, is known for his signature introductions and stylish suits. But behind that sharp look is someone who knows how to fight. Just ask UFC veteran Frank Trigg. It all happened in Las Vegas during the filming of The Ultimate Fighter. After a long day of shooting, Buffer joined Dana White and several others for dinner and a night out. They all got into an elevator at the Hard Rock Hotel, but the ride didn't go as planned. Buffer had just complimented Dana on his expensive watch when, out of nowhere, Frank Trigg hit him in the neck.
Karate chopped him in the throat. And Trigg said, "Don't talk while I'm talking."
Startled, Buffer turned to him and demanded, "Frank, why the did you hit me?" Trigg shot back, "What are you gonna do about it?" Within seconds, things got physical.
They started throwing punches at each other. I was like, holy shit.
Buffer, who trained in martial arts since he was young, immediately threw 2 punches. Trigg fought back hard, and the two clashed in a confined space as the elevator moved floor to floor. It was on. 10 floors, maybe 15, 20 seconds of pure chaos, Buffer later said. The scuffle only stopped when Trigg's knee accidentally hit one of Buffer's friends. By the time they reached the lobby, Buffer's thumb was badly injured, so much so that the bone was visible. Dana White, who had witnessed everything, couldn't believe what he saw. Frank Trigg at the time was a ranked UFC fighter. He karate chopped Bruce in the throat. Bruce blasted him right back. I just stepped back and watched. Holy. When the elevator doors opened, the two men, bloodied and exhausted, surprisingly shook hands and apologized. Despite the mayhem, the altercation showed that Buffer was more than just a polished announcer. He had the toughness to back it up. Dana summed it up best. I guess Dana saw he doesn't have a wimp announcing his fighters in the Octagon. Now, just like Bruce and Frank, the next story also involves fighters whose real-life clash stunned fans everywhere. Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. Tensions between Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney had already been building long before their junior welterweight bout, but things truly exploded when the two ran into each other at Super Bowl Radio Row in Las Vegas. Only hours after their April 20th fight was officially announced, the pair almost came to blows in front of a large crowd, turning what was supposed to be a simple media event into a near brawl. Haney stepped too close, and Garcia immediately shoved him back. Haney tried to move in again, but Garcia dodged and refused to engage further. Haney later posted the video online, writing, "Don't turn around and run April 20th. The post only intensified the hype. The two fighters have shared a long rivalry since their amateur days, facing each other 6 times and splitting the wins evenly at 3 apiece, which made this professional showdown even more personal." Haney was entering the match as the defending champion, fresh off a decisive victory over Regis Prograis in December 2023. Garcia, however, was still trying to rebuild his career after suffering his first pro defeat against Gervonta Davis that same year. His comeback win against Oscar Duarte in December 2023 restored his confidence, and now he was determined to prove himself again. In the lead-up to the bout, Garcia didn't hold back with his words. "Devin Haney needs to stop the pimping game. He's pimping his own son. Tell him to off. I can't wait for you guys to see. April 20th, buy your tickets." When fight night finally arrived, the crowd witnessed one of boxing's most heated rivalries come full circle. And this time, it was Ryan Garcia who walked away with the win. Up next, we move on to one of the most notorious moments in combat sports history, the infamous brawl between Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier. Jones and Cormier. If you've ever wondered what happens when two of the UFC's top fighters lose their temper, the infamous clash between Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier at the MGM Grand Hotel gives you the answer. This wasn't just a heated argument. It turned into an all-out brawl that brought the intensity of their fight promotion to another level. The incident took place during a press conference for their much-anticipated 2014 matchup. Tension had been growing between them for years, with both men constantly exchanging harsh words in interviews. But during the live event event, it wasn't trash talk that stole the spotlight. It was a physical shove. During their face-off at the hotel lobby, both fighters locked eyes, their foreheads pressing together. Frustrated by Jones's behavior, Cormier shoved him away, and that's when everything went downhill. Jones, known for his fiery temper, charged back, swinging punches with full force. The two men tumbled off the stage, nearly crashing into a marble fountain as the chaos erupted. Jones, still enraged, kept throwing punches as the scuffle spilled into the lobby. It wasn't until security from MGM stepped in that the two were finally separated. Cormier was quickly taken away by staff, while Jones stayed behind, flexing on stage and shouting 3 times as the shocked crowd looked on. The fight wasn't just embarrassing, it was a disaster for the UFC's image. UFC officials immediately condemned the behavior. Kirk Hendrick, the company's chief legal officer, called it a clear violation of the organization's code of conduct and hinted that disciplinary action could follow. Jones, however, didn't seem concerned. Hours after the brawl, he jumped on Twitter to taunt Cormier, posting, "Come on DC, where was your takedown defense?" and mocking his injuries. This wasn't just professional rivalry anymore, it was deeply personal. And just like Jones and Cormier, another UFC feud turned physical, this time between Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis, and it happened in the most unexpected place possible. Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis. The hostility between middleweight champion Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis reached its boiling point long before their scheduled fight, and it happened in the middle of UFC 296. The tension between them had already been building for weeks, but no one expected their first real fight to take place outside the Octagon. Both men appeared on the broadcast ahead of their UFC 297 middleweight title bout. But instead of keeping things professional, they ended up brawling inside the T-Mobile Arena. Asked a nearby family with children to step aside. Moments later, he lunged toward du Plessis, throwing punches in a sudden outburst. Du Plessis quickly fought back, grabbing Strickland around the waist as security rushed in to stop them. The scene quickly turned chaotic, and Strickland was eventually escorted out of the venue. "I'm 5-0 in the T-Mobile Arena, and tonight I officially became 6-0, he said with a laugh. It's probably not a great example, but hey, nobody got hurt, so we're all good. Despite Strickland's outburst, du Plessis seemed unfazed. "I can't believe how easy it was to mentally trigger him," he added. "One little comment and he loses his mind. Shows you how easily he can be broken." When the two finally met inside the cage at UFC 297 in Toronto on January 20th, 2024, du Plessis proved his point, his Palin's aggression, earning him the middleweight title. It was clear that in this rivalry, mental strength mattered just as much as physical skill. Next up, we have another heated confrontation, this time between Paddy Pimblett and Ilia Topuria, whose feud turned violent even before they entered the cage. Paddy Pimblett and Ilia Topuria. The bad blood between Paddy Pimblett and Ilia Topuria reached its breaking point during UFC Fight Night 204 Fight Week, when the two got into a physical altercation at their London hotel, just days before their scheduled bouts. It started when both fighters happened to be near each other in the hotel's public area. The tension quickly escalated. Topuria swung first, and Pimblett responded by throwing a bottle of hand sanitizer at him. Security rushed in almost immediately to separate them, but not before the brief scuffle was caught on video. Topuria later shared the clip on social media, confirming what had happened. The short but heated exchange only added fuel to their already long-running rivalry. Their issues had been brewing for months, mostly from social media arguments. But what truly set things off was a disrespectful comment Pimblett made about Georgian fighters, including a distasteful remark related to the Russo-Georgian War, a conflict in which Topuria had lost relatives. Understandably, he took deep offense. Calling Pimblett an idiot, Topuria said he would lose control if they ever met in person, and he meant it. That confrontation finally happened at UFC London, where both men were present for their own fights. Pimblett was focused on his co-main event bout with Rodrigo Vargas, while Topuria was preparing to move up to 155 pounds to face Jai Herbert. The tension between them was obvious throughout the week. Afterward, Pimblett tried to downplay the altercation, mocking Topuria by calling him hand sanitizer boy, referencing how the bottle had bounced off Topuria's head during the the fight. He brushed it off as meaningless, saying Topuria was small and only tried to act tough when surrounded by his friends. Pimblett claimed the encounter didn't bother him at all, insisting he was smart enough not to risk a serious injury before his scheduled fight. In his words, why would he fight someone who means nothing to him right before he's supposed to step into the cage? Even so, most fans could tell that this rivalry was far from over. With both fighters rising in their divisions, it's only a matter of time before they meet inside the Octagon officially. Still, Pimblett remained confident that Topuria wouldn't stand a chance. He's not gonna win, Pimblett predicted. I know Jai's gonna knock him out and send him crawling back down to featherweight. Which of these UFC confrontations do you think was the wildest? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section, and before you leave, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to MMA Rivals so you don't miss the next ones.